All right, welcome back to Real Cast Fishing, your podcast. Your host, Glenn with the City Battle Fishing Field Team. Been a while since I've done this one, but hey, by the way, what I'm talking about is the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. So we're back to this series. This is episode 28 of the podcast series, Real Cast Fishing, and well, last time we started at 143, got all the way to 146, and then we called it quits after that. So let's go ahead and pick up at 147. Okay, and I've got the deal right here. It's the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. And let's see if I've got this right here. Oh, yeah. We got little sound effects and everything. I'm taking advantage of this PodTrack 4 to give it a little sound effects. Yeah. All right. So what I want to do is just go right into the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. And what I do is I read the particular tip that they're talking about. And then I talk about maybe some things that I noticed that I've seen in the past fishing and possibly with that tip. And then from there, maybe even some call outs from the field, or in this case, from the viewers. All right. So here goes. The first one is 147. Use an attractor fly. Okay, so one of the best lessons I learned from scuba diving with trout came from watching them react to attractor flies. To set the scene, I had a buddy fishing two dry fly rig. The lead fly was a size 12 stimulator, a big ugly bug that might look like a terrestrial or a stonefly. Although its basic mission is, as the name implies, to stimulate a rise, second fly trailed 18 inches off the hook shank off the first. The first was a size 18 blue-winged olive, meant to match the natural Baetis flies that pop up on the surface now and again. As I watched the fish from below the surface, time and time, I noticed them swim up to check the larger fly and catch a view of the smaller fly and go eat it. That's a good one to keep in your back pocket here. I think they're trying to get to something. The lesson is that if you are fishing two small dry flies, you won't draw their attention as consistently as you would by using an attractor dry fly. Oh, nice. Okay. The same applies to nymph fishing, particularly in a swift current or in tinted water. Your first fish should be a ugly bug, maybe a hot pink San Juan worm. Oh, yeah, those are pretty ugly but attracting. Or a size 14 flashback pheasant tail. Your trailer fly should be something smaller, perhaps a size 18 bar emerger. The fish are going to turn on the big bug that attracts their attention. Sometimes they'll eat it, but usually they'll pass on in favor of the smaller fly. And they won't eat the smaller fly as consistently if you don't have an attractor bug drawing them in the first place. Attractor fly really only works when you are prospecting and when there isn't a consistent hatch coming off. When you're fishing a prolific hatch, don't mess around with it with attractors. Okay, so tip 147 from the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. Okay, this has got a lot of cool stuff. In the case of this passage, this tip, use an attractor fly. What they were suggesting when you're using a two dry fly rig or two fly rig, it's probably better to have a large attracting dry fly and then a smaller fly, and the one attracts them, but they actually eat or strike at the smaller size fly. So it looks like it works both on the dry fly side as well as in the case of streamers. So you would go with a large streamer, you have a trailing smaller fly, they get attracted to the larger fly, but they actually eat the smaller fly. And that being said, I have had that happen multiple times fishing for trout on the Blue River, Lower Mountain Fork, as well as the Lower Illinois River here in the Oklahoma area. Okay, so oftentimes when I am thinking that I'm not doing so well, I may just fall to a two fly rig where I have that large fly and followed by a trailing smaller fly with it being attracted. Let's see. Hi, Patrick Phillips here. We're just talking the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. It's been a while since I've done this, but last time I went from tips 143 to 145. Right now I'm on tip 146, and they're tackling, or correction, on 147, using a tractor fly. And so far I've taken away that one having that larger fly is the attracted one, and then that trailing one is what they'll actually hit. The other thing it does say is if there is a large hatch going on and there's a lot of food in the water, basically, just don't mess around with the attractors. Just go right in there and start fishing. All right. Okay, so that was 147, and it's the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. I've got the Kindle version. I used to have the hardback version, but I seem to have misplaced it over the years. Anyways, I keep going back on the Kindle version and in this case, I like sharing it as part of this live stream, or at least this series in our Real Cast Fishing podcast series. All right, so let's go to the next one, 148. Use a spotter fly. And again, I'll just reiterate how I go through this is I'll read the passage, read the tip, call out any things from there, and then maybe from the folks on the call, or in this case in the stream, maybe something pikes their interest, or maybe there's an additional question or something that sounds like something to call out. Because, hey, sharing the best practices here, you know. Use a spotter fly, tip 148 from the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. So here goes. You can use a larger fly so you can spot a rise and take when the fly you are really fishing is too small or dark to see at a distance. One example occurred when I was fishing the basin below the ridge over Silver Creek in Idaho. The trout were eating beetles, so I tied on a size 14 black foam pattern, which came pretty close to imitating the real things. The problem was that the wind made washboard waves on the surface past 20 feet, and I couldn't see the flight. Let's see. I couldn't see the fly. To counter that, I tried on a size 10 Turk's tarantula and then trailed the beetle below it. With any disturbance or splash near the big visible fly, I'd set the hook and find that the trout had eaten the beetle. As a bonus, about every fifth fish or so ate the tarantula. In effect, you use a spotter fly as a strike indicator, only it's better than yarn or foam indicator because it looks like a bug and is less likely to spook the fish. Plus, you might catch some fish in the process. I will always use a fly as a strike indicator over foam or yarn when I can get away with it. And it's pretty much every situation except classic deep run high stick nymphing, signed by KD. Okay, so what's the key takeaway there? Use a spotter fly. I've done that before, fishing one particular pond here for trout. It looks like what'll happen is they're feeding off of a size 20, maybe a size 18, 20, or 22 midge, and from the distance that I'm casting, I barely can see, if not see, that little midge. But when I put on a trailing or spotter fly, I'm able to see that fly, and when I do get the indication of a strike, I'll see that reaction to the strike from that bigger fly, that spotter fly. I would give this one a thumbs up on the 148 spotter fly tip. Yeah, that's a good one. Alrighty. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the next one. Okay, 149 below the surface spotter. In this case, the tips are pretty short, so I can go through them pretty quick. And normally I just do 5. I think I've got some time. I'll just keep reading through there. And again, if you're interested in getting the book, you can get it on Amazon. Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. Okay. All right, 149 below the surface spotter. In really clear water like that of the Frying Pan River in Colorado, guide Key Haas shuns the classic nymph rig strike indicator and instead uses a bright spotter fly such as a white San Juan worm. You can see the white fly as it drifts through the run just below the surface. Any subtle deviation in its course, any slight stagger or stop, as it assumes a fish just took a small black beauty nymph. That's trailing behind the San Juan worm. Look natural, doesn't spook the fish, and it's connected right to the bug you're really fishing. All right, another good one. Okay, and hey, that kind of goes in general, not just fly fishing. I did this the other day, and I think the most recent shorts that I posted has me using this Yum forward-facing sonar minnow bait casting, ultralight bait casting style. I'm working some of the beds in my local pond that I like going to more often than not throughout the week, and there were bass on their beds this past week, and having that off color or different colored fly, high contrast to the dark background or the dark greenery that was on the bottom, as well as seeing that bed where they cleared out all that greenery. I could get that, in this case, the lure into there, and I would react to seeing that lure either disappear, even though I may have gotten a glimpse of the bass taking it or not. I just kind of see a shadow or whatnot, but I'm really just focusing on that fly, or in this case, this lure disappearing. So I believe this is what they're also talking about in the below the surface spotter tip 149 out of the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. All right, let's keep going. I'm on a run here now, so I'm on tip 150, make it a meal. Okay, midge hatch is on. I'm fishing with guide Dan Stein, and swarms of tiny insects are littering the river's surface. Every trout and bighorn seems to be eating dry flies. I reach into my fly box and poke around for a size 24 black midge pattern. That's no good, Dan said. You won't see it and the fish won't eat it. Instead of that tiny fly, Dan dipped in his fly box for a size 14 blue dun, a fly that looked absolutely nothing like the naturals on the water. I wondered what in the world he was thinking, and he knew it. Just watch, he said. Throw that fly upstream from the fish you saw just rising from the bank and let it drift down. I made the cast, and within a split second, natural midges started landing on my fly. By the time it floated into the fish's feeding zone, it was a meatball of swarming insects. Sure enough, the brown trout rose to inhale that meatball fly, and I set the hook. Wow, this is new. I've not seen that or done that before. You have to make it a meal, Dan said, smiling. Why would a fish waste his time and energy suck down one of the little bitty bugs when the midge are hatching thick? Always fish a midge cluster or use a fly the bugs can cluster on. The more protein a fish sees, the most likely it is to eat. Ooh, keep that in your back pocket. I may have to try that next time I'm on the river and I see a bunch of these guys hatching about, and all I have is a fly that I can use to attract them and get them that meatball fly or that meatball meal. Yeah. Interesting. I've not done this one before. If you have, just put a little shout out on there in the comments. Have you used what they call a make it a meal tip 150 in the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing? Okay, let's go to 151, the color purple. The hot patterns in my fly box aren't new patterns, but rather purple variations of the old ones. Purple Prince nymphs, purple San Juan worms, purple woolly buggers, even purple parachute Adamses. No matter how hard you look, you won't find an insect that looks even remotely like a purple prince nymph. But I know many guides use it when the chips are down. Other anglers gravitate to purple in tough conditions as well, from offshore captains trolling purple skirts for tuna, to salmon guides in Alaska who prefer blue or purple beads, to bass pros who like purple shaded soft plastics. When talking about purple, I'm guilty. I use purple oftentimes, especially when I'm bass fishing. One theory is that purple catches fish's eyes better than other shades. Among trout, for example, we know, according to Dr. Robert Winke, author of Trout and Salmon in North America, that the cones and the retinas of the trout eyes are more receptive to shades of the blue side of the spectrum. Benke cautions, however, that trout exhibit different feeding patterns at times. During some periods, imitation of the food item of the movement is required. In other words, when they are on a hatch, matching size and color is key, but when they are just opportunity feeding, gaudy is better. Okay, good to know. Recognize when fish are on a specific bite or not. When they are, match it. But when they are not, when you're just trying to get their attention, consider going purple. Good one. Color purple. Maybe that explains why, the purple plastic worms and whatnot that I've used over the years has been like a go-to one at times when I'm just kind of prospecting a particular pond and whatnot. So I guess it holds true with fly fishing too. If you can't match the hatch and things aren't just happening for that particular pattern, try purple. Same fly, try purple. All right, and I've got a lot of purple marabou over there in my fly tying gear back there. Okay, 152. Let's go on to 152. Prince Nymph Mystery. Okay. There is a difference between flies that look like something a trout is willing to eat and flies that look exactly like natural insects in a river. They are often one and the same, but not always. Take the curious case of the Prince Nymph. Montana guide Rusty Voris once put the uncanny magnetism of the Prince Nymph in perspective when he said, "You can walk up and down the whole river turn over 1,000 rocks, and never find a bug that looks exactly like a prince nymph. So what is it about the prince that makes it work? Some say the peacock herald body just looks buggy enough to tempt any fish. Others claim its profile is an ideal generic shape to match wide range of insects. Others like the way it moves in the water. I have no idea why it works so well. I just know it does. And for my money, when I am nymph fishing, especially when I am fishing a tandem ring on a Freestone River, the prince is almost always my leader fly. Interesting. I fished a prince nymph before. It's that one that does have that peacock herald body. It's got the white buyout wings, as well as some other stuff to it. And yeah, it does look buggy, and I've yet to see a fly or an insect that looks like that. But hey, I've caught a lot of fish with it, so it is a mystery. But hey, like, what is it? The guide, Rusty Voris, says, prince is almost always my leader fly. Okay. All right. We got time still, so let's go on to 153. Again, in the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. Okay. 153, bad bead heads. Beadhead flies are all the rage, and with good reason. Not only does that bead replicate the air bubble often found around a swimming or emerging bug, but the weight of the bead sinks the fly into the right zone. For fishing a dry dropper rig, the beadhead is a natural dropper choice. In heavy currents, it's money. Don't get hung up on fishing beadhead flies in all situations, however. In slow-moving currents, and especially on flat ponds and lakes, the bead may do you more harm than good because it can sink too quickly and then get hung up on the bottom. Use this simple gauge. If the current is moving slower than 1 foot per second, forget about the beads. I never thought about that. Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. Howdy. Tried fly fishing before, but ended up falling in the river, discovering humans can't fly. That's a good one. All right. Caden Bowling, LOL. Okay, funny. You heard about the Bin Laden channel? No, not really. All right. Let's go on to 154. The story behind the Copper John. Okay, let's try this. John Bar is one of the most celebrated fly tyers in the world. His Copper John pattern is one of the hottest selling flies for one good reason. It catches a lot of fish. To that point, I once fished a remote river in Chile with guide Ricardo Elena. We spotted a fish that wasn't very interested in dry flies, so we decided to try nymphs. What pattern? I pulled a red size 16 Copper John from my box and offered it up for my guide's approval. Sí, he said. That is La Mosca Assassina, the killer fly, El Cobre de Juan, the Copper of John. I later told that story to John Barr, and he laughed. Then he told me how that bug came to be. It's interesting. I have to go check this out. I've not heard of this one before. How did it come about? The Copper John. It's a fly that has a copper wrap or copper wiring that's used to wrap and does sink fairly quickly. Let's see. It seems he was fishing years ago in the late summer using a hopper dropper rig. His bottom fly, a bar emergent, wasn't quite getting down to the fish as quickly and efficiently as he wanted it to. So JB went back to his tying bench and whipped a pattern that was sure to sink. He made the body out of copper wire, okay, Copper John. He put a bead head on it. Wow, that makes it even heavier. Then he added a few buggy accents such as a wing case and tail. By his own admission, this fly was meant to be an anchor that looked like an insect of sort. Let's see. The funny thing is, once he fished that fly, the trout went absolutely nuts over it. With a few years, it became Umpqua's hottest selling fly pattern worldwide. Thousands of dozens are sold every year in various shades and sizes. In other words, the hottest fly pattern in the world came to be almost by default to make other flies work better. The moral of the story is the weight is always a critical factor in fly selection. Having a fly that gets into the zone is most important, if not more important, than having a fly that looks natural. Having a fly with appeal and function is supernatural. Okay. All right, that's good to know. And it does go back to some of the other tips that were in the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing, where it talks of getting that fly in the zone. So it's all well and good that you got your fly there, it's drifting all nicely, but if the fly, or correction, the trout and fish are down below, there's a less likelihood that you're going to get a bite out of them because, well, your fly's not in the zone. All right, looks like we got some call-outs here. Let's go check it out here. From Anthony Camarillo. Serious note, how hard is it to learn to fly fish? Is there a trick to it? It varies. What I found, I learned from reading a book, watching some films and whatnot way back when there's no internet. And then I just kind of gutted it out. And then eventually I ended up taking some basic lessons that were offered, free ones and whatnot. Never took the class, but over the years I've gotten pretty proficient at it. I guess the main thing I would say when it comes to fly fishing is practice. Learn from some good instructors. I know I know at the local Cabela's, they do offer some lessons there. Orvis offers some free lessons there where you can just get a basic understanding. Here in Texas, where I'm at, Texas Parks and Wildlife, they have various fly fishing shops or what do you call it, workshops that you can attend. And in fact, I am a basic Texas Parks and Wildlife basic fly fishing instructor. I don't teach the fly casting piece. That's another group. But I do volunteer for that program, and it's been pretty fun. And the key thing about fly fishing, having you a balanced outfit and practice out there, get some good basic lessons, and after that, just go for it. Other ones, if you look at some of my other videos, you'll see how I am fly fishing, just showing you that you don't need to cast far. I think I have one video where I went and bought one of those $29 combo rigs from Amazon. It's got this size 6 level line, and I was only using about the length of the rod, the length of the, or that same length of the rod, and then another same length of my leader. So it was a 8-foot rod plus 8 foot of line plus 8 foot of leader, so about 24 feet. And I was able to fish a pond, and I caught a fair amount there. And what was interesting about that package that I got from Amazon was it came with several flies in there. They all caught fish, but I ended up losing them all because I broke off. And then there was also one that did really well. It was a mother minnow that was in the package, and I was tearing them up to the point where the fly was all beaten up by the time I had to retire it. So, yeah, that package was pretty good. A little bit harder to cast, and it used the old click pawl drag. That is, well, I think some of the folks that I saw on some of these past videos kind of putting a detractor on it, not recommending it, just didn't understand how a click pawl drag mechanism works. Okay, you go fishing a lot? Yes, I do. Yeah, in fact, here I'll show you. There's some rods. There's some more rods. There's some more there, and then back over there in the corner, I got a whole bunch of fly rods. And I'm one of these guys who I don't throw a fly rod or fishing rod away. I tend to keep it, and even if it breaks, I still keep it because I can repurpose it for whatever reason. Going back to the click pawl drag, let me go grab that real quick. I think I got one back in here that I can show you in my cabinet. All right, bear with me. All right, okay. Okay, here's an old school click pawl drag right here. Okay. All right, this one actually does have a drag mechanism on here on the front. It's an old Shakespeare that I picked up from a company that used to be here in Texas, Oshman Sporting Goods, way back when. Okay. But that is a pawl, and it clicks, okay? And right there. And it's mainly meant to really just keep your reel from overrunning. So, like so, okay? Because while you're pulling out line casting, you'll end up getting some overruns, sort of like a fly fishing version of a backlash, all right? Okay, your newer ones, bear with me here, bumped. Okay, this is a newer one, and it's a little beat up. I gotta fix it. It broke on me. Okay, in here I gotta make an adjustment to it. But this one has a drag, and this is what I think most folks are used to now. All right, Chevy or Ford? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I do drive a Toyota Tacoma. Previously, it was an old standard green one that had about 300,000 miles on it, but unfortunately, it died on me. Not because of the motor, not because of mechanical reasons, but somebody just ran into it while I was sitting in front of my house. Wow, what a way to lose an old trusty friend. But I've since replaced it with a Toyota Tacoma non-standard, so it's an automatic. But I do like it still. Okay, let's go back. And I still got time. It's one of those days we got some cold rain, cold winds. We had all this stuff kind of blowing through here, so I've not been able to go fishing like I would like to. But if you do see some of the videos I've posted this last few days, if not weeks, it gives you an idea how I've just kind of shifted things. So initially, wintertime, I tend to fish more the cold water stuff, stripers and trout. And then as things warm up, I shift over to, especially around this time frame, March, April, February, March, April, when things start warming up here in Texas, I'll start working the ponds, mainly for those bass that are spawning on their beds. So they're on their beds and they're ready to strike. And that last one I'm showing you, the shorts that I posted, has me fishing various beds. I'm missing them as well as catching them. There's one where I had him on, he threw the hook. I went ahead and cast again, and sure enough, he came back and hit it. So it's one of those. It's different rules this time of year. So you don't get them on the first try, you can keep going again. Additionally, if they don't react initially to your bait, your lure, and you keep trying, give it another 3, 4, 5 casts, he doesn't go for it, move on to the next. Come back later. Because usually if they don't react readily to your fly or your lure, it just doesn't mean they want to play at that point, but eventually come back. Because a lot of times when they do want to play, as soon as you cast, they will react to it and strike and be very aggressive about it. All right. Okay. Let's see. 155. Size matters. Of everything you have to consider when selecting fly, size is the most important, especially during a hatch when trout are keyed to a particular insect. If you think you've identified whatever bug the trout are eating and they're refusing it, try going at least one hook size smaller. The same strategy holds for nymphing. If you know a river holds a certain insect, yet the fish are refusing your imitation, try a smaller version. Let's see. Oh, the one you first tied on. Everyone loves those times and places during non-specific feeding conditions when trout go for larger flies above and below the surface with increased angling pressure almost everywhere. However, such a situation can be difficult to find. Heavily pressured trout sense danger in big flies. When in doubt, think small. All right. Let me think about that because, yeah, I've had the case where I'm using, let's say, a size 8 streamer, not getting much hits, shift over to a 10, a 12, and my hookup rate increased. It seems like where I thought there were no fish, all of a sudden there's some fish starting to hit. In the case, not even some, they didn't mean they were small fish. I've had cases, in fact, I remember catching one off of a little beadhead, gold rib hares beadhead nymph, gold rib hare's ear nymph, and I got a nice bass with it, and it's really small. I mean, I don't know why he went for it. Okay, let's go to 156. Reading the rise. The discernment a trout makes when it takes a fly on the surface reveals about how it's eating. A slow deliberate rise generally means prey is a mayfly resting on or near the surface. Okay, slow deliberate rise. Okay, that makes sense. A splashy move or unseen insects typically is indicative of a midge. Okay, so splashy fish, you don't see this insect, it's a midge. Fluttering caddis also elicits splashy rises, but there's no mistaking the signs of a stonefly hatch. Okay, so in this case, you're actually seeing a hatch happen and they're striking. These large insects look like battleships on the surface. Trout slurp them with gusto. Okay. As a corollary, certain movements tell the specifics of an insect, particularly with mayflies. Normal rise means the trout is taking an insect on the surface. Okay. A porpoising rise, in which the fish sequentially shows its head and tail, generally indicates an insect in the surface film. Okay. A bulge with only a back showing points to fish feeding on emergers that haven't quite reached the top. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense because, okay, there's your normal rise where he's coming up and hitting. There's the porpoising where he's coming up and then he's sliding over just like a porpoise, and that insect is in that surface film. And then finally, there's just that bulge, and he's just getting something just subsurface as it's coming up. That's a good one to keep in your back pocket because once you know what they're feeding or have at least an indication, you can shift your pattern to where they're feeding. So you definitely don't want to go with a dry fly if you're starting to see that little bulge because they're feeding on something that's just under the surface merging. All right. Man, I do like this book. Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. Okay, 157. Pumping for more information. Let's see what this is. Even experienced anglers sometimes have trouble figuring out what trout are eating when several different insects are on the surface. For example, you may observe fish rising amid a huge mayfly hatch, but can't get a hit on what seems a realistic imitation. Oh, I've had that happen. I've even matched the hatch, and I'm not getting a bite or anything. The dilemma may be the result of a shadow hatch of a smaller insect that for some odd reason has become the center of the fish's attention. Ooh, I did not know that. In such cases, a suction stomach pump available in most trout shops can be invaluable. Use it carefully so you don't injure the fish, and you'll quickly discover what's the menu. I do keep a stomach pump ready, and I've used it. Most times when I do that, I'm getting these little small midge, sort of like a little zebra midge pattern, really small, like 20, size 20 maybe. Ooh, that's small. Okay, good to know. All right, 158. Dishing up the facts. Suppose you can't catch that first fish to perform a stomach scrutiny. Many anglers carry a portable scene so they can take a quick surface census. Lefty Cray, noted for his clever ideas, cites a handy alternative. Cut out the bottom from an ordinary soap dish and replace it with a fine mesh wire. When you put in water, insects will collect in the mesh for easy identification. You can keep them available for later inspection by simply closing the lid. Oh, wow. I haven't done that. I got the stomach pump. I even have one of those little aquarium nets, the little green one that you use for like guppies and whatnot. But I haven't done that. It does help, though, to figure out what's down there and definitely adjust. You take a look at it and just at least find something in your fly box that is pretty close to imitating it. Okay, so let's stop there, and I'll just kind of open up the floor if anyone has to talk or wants to talk, or any shout outs on some particular things that you want to talk about fishing. We're talking fly fishing from the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing, but we can certainly shift things. I can tell you some recent things that I've been working on. So currently, I will do a lot of my live stream with my phone using this rig right here. Okay, it's a magnetic piece. I put my phone on there. I got a lav mic, so when the wind is kicking up and whatnot, I'm still able to show you what I'm doing. At the same time, one-man show here, so I am seeing the chat stuff come in, and I can answer the mail as folks come in. That's worked out well. I used to use this one where I put my GoPro Hero 8 connected to a battery pack with no battery, internal battery, and that's worked out well when I want to do these long live streams, but unfortunately it doesn't come in at the vertical. It comes in horizontal, landscape. So I don't have as much engagement with those live streams. But more recently, I've shifted over to a DJI Osmo Action 4, and that one I'm still kind of playing around with. I've got connected to my iPad, a hotspot to do stuff, but yeah. More to come on that one. I do like some of the video I've been getting, and I do like the sound that comes out of it. And I'm hoping to give you more vertical video live streams at the same time getting a better view of what I'm catching, or at least how I am, particularly what technique I'm using. Let's see. Do you play games? Not really. I go fishing. I do some YouTubing, and I go to work. All right. I do have ukuleles. Those are fun. In fact, I got another channel where I just play around and do a live stream there, just playing the ukulele. It's fun stuff. Any big fish lately using flies? Not lately. I've been mainly using the ultralight bait casting gear, BFS style. I think the last round that I went where I was fly fishing, let's see, I went to Davis Library Park Pond It's part of a library over there in the city of Plano, down the road from me, and I was fly fishing there. Normally, I was hoping to get some of the bigger fish there, but they tended to be these small fingerlings and whatnot. Unusually warm day that day, and I was thinking I was going to get some more, but not as much. And it was a small size 10, size 12 fly. Other things, though, is this time of year, I've got several flies that I have tied that are meant specifically fishing this time of year for these bass when they're on their beds. I think it was Piedmont, purple, let's see, marabou, something fly that I tied. What it does is when I cast it, it's got a purple color or a orange and white color, but something that can stand out as the fly hits the bed. And then I'm watching that fly disappear when the trout strikes it, and it'll ride marabou tail up. In fact, here, I think I might have one over here. Let me grab it real quick. Okay, I'm back. Unfortunately, I can't find it, but I can give you an idea. This is my little Altoid mini tackle box right here. Okay, I made it using my, oh, shoot. Right there, 3D printer. I had to tweak it a little bit to get it to do the tray deal that's in there, but it works out really good. There. Anyways, let's see. Trying to find it. This one might give you a good example of what I'm talking about, or at least I'll use it as an example. Okay. So what I did was I took a fly right here, and it's weighted, and it'll ride up like this. Okay. When I take it through the bed, and it's actually about longer like this, and I'm not expecting the bass to strike, tail here. They usually just inhale it, and then I set the hook. And what happens is because it's weighted over here, sort of like a Clouser minnow, where it'll ride hook up in this case, I can keep it in this orientation, like so, as it's resting on the bed. I'm just kind of dragging it through, or even just stopping and letting it kind of float like so, tail up. And that's enough to get the bass to just kind of investigate it, and then he'll suck it up real quick, and I see it disappeared. I set the hook at that point. Yeah, it works really good. All right. But it can be frustrating, especially if you're seeing them there looking at it, and then they turn around and ignore it. Yeah. But different rules, like I was saying, this time of year when it comes to bass on beds. Let's see. Last few videos, I'm using ultralight bait casting gear. For some reason, I got hooked on the Yum forward-facing sonar minnow. I've been using it with the VMC Neon Moon Eye 1/16 ounce jig head. I do have some 1/8 ounce 1/0 wider gapped Yum jig heads that are meant for that forward-facing sonar minnow, and it does kind of ride more of a level set or a level orientation. Still kind of bounces, and it does this nice flutter when you drop it. So you drop it, boom, kind of you lift it up, it'll kind of do one of this little shake, drop, up, shake, just like a dying bait fish or an injured bait fish. And I think that's what the trout or the bass are homing on. But when they're on their beds, also they could be just homing in on there too, just because me Mario, man, you're getting to my bed here. You get out of here, So you kind of take advantage of that case also, where use some of these off-color lures, because it's a great time to be experimenting. I would say if you're going to be doing that, definitely bring your polarized glasses, because it will be night and day being able to see those bass sometimes seeing ones that you didn't even see there previously, but as soon as you put them on, they're there. Other times, especially when they're paired up, you'll have that smaller male bass, and then there's that big sow bass out in the background kind of hovering. Good to see that also. Yeah, but more recently, bigger bass that I've been getting is around the 4-pound range. The 6ers and 7ers, not been seeing those as much lately. I did see probably a 4-5er at one of the ponds this past week before the rains came through, but it was not ready to play. It was one of those cases where, it's like, leave me alone. Even if you're bumping that lure in front of my nose, I just don't want to play. And that is one of the frustrating things that I've noticed, especially during the spawn. But hey, things are going to be warming up. I will be shifting over from pond fishing over to kayak fishing. I usually start out the year with some jug line fishing to catch some catfish and do a little spicy catfish recipe. Try maybe in a fish fry and whatnot. And then as things warm up some more, I'll start targeting the white bass in the lake, where you'll get them off some of the wind-blown points and have a good opportunity. Either they're trolling, just get a nice workout in at the same time you're fishing. That's pretty fun. And if you don't get anything, you get a nice workout. The other thing is when they are laying low, deeper in the water column, I will do some back paddling and bottom bouncing. That's the case where I'll take a slab and jig rig where the slab is your standard slab with the treble hook or maybe just a single hook. I don't buy them anymore. I got gear to pour my own. And then I'll set it up with either crappie jigs that you purchase, be it Walmart or whatnot, or I'll make these sabiki flies using Doritos or Belvita wrapper mylar deal to go fishing out there. And I'll set it up as sabiki rig style where I'm bottom bouncing the slab and I'm getting all the other hits off the sabiki fly, or in this case, the crappie jig. So that's what's upcoming here. I do plan on starting up the little 2.5 horsepower Suzuki motor. Get that one tuned up and ready to go for the upcoming season. We'll take it out in the John boat, but I'm going to be specifically targeting some carp using my crossbow, because it is legal here to use a crossbow for crossbow fishing, and all you need is a fishing license here in Texas to do that. In the past, I've used a bow. In fact, I still have my bow right here. Just shoulder kind of a little bit harder to maintain a hold, full draw and whatnot, even a half draw when I'm trying to wait for that fish to pop up. But with that crossbow, there's one up there. All right, and just a real simple crossbow. I am making one also to, because I can. You got to take advantage of that 3D printer and make some different things and whatnot. All right. Okay, so that was the episode 28, Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. And it's been fun having y'all on here. And do come back again. I haven't done these in a while. What I've mainly been doing is the mobile fishing live stream and just kind of getting out there and getting you at least a first-hand look of what I'm doing. No editing. It's just the straight live stream. And oh, by the way, there it is. I mess up more often than not, but oh, by the way, I do catch a fish or two as well. So you can have fun experiencing the great outdoors with yours truly. Anyhow, additionally, I do repost them on our podcast, Real Cast Fishing Podcast. It's on Spotify. I went to Spotify because I do like the video capability that Spotify also supports. So if you can't, or if you can watch the video, you can see it, but at the same time, you can just put it on your, while you're driving in and whatnot on your commute and listen to a podcast. And it's mainly just yours truly discussing, if not talking, about what he's doing while I am actually out there fishing in the field here. All right. And in this case, this one's going to be us talking about the Little Red Book of Fly Fishing. All right. Okay. All for now. Till next time, we'll catch you all later. And good luck and good fishing.